So we are looking at the graph of a function right here. I'll call it f of x. And what we're doing is, based off of this graph of this function, we want to answer 4 questions. And I'm doing all 4 of these to show you kind of the nuance and what we need to be focused on to be able to get these intervals correct. So when we look, another key piece that we need to know before we get started is that remembering that we can interchange f of x and y. Remember, f of x is the same way to write y, which is the output of the function, so how high or low we are on this graph. The first question asks for the f of x is, we need to remember the symbol means greater than 0. And if we kind of replace that though with the y to think about this a little differently, or just to kind of put it in a different context, we're asking where are the y values greater than 0? So which x values of the function yield or give us a y value of 0? And when I just look at the graph and I think about it, well, this is the y-axis. And remember, we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way up to infinity and then down to negative infinity. So where our y values are greater than 0 or positive, it's all these values up here. These are where the y's are greater than 0. Now, we aren't going to list all these values. We're going to list specifically where our graph is greater than 0. So that's going to be here and here. And notice here, I'm not including the values on the x-axis because these, remember, the y value on this axis is 0. So like this is the point, -1, -2, -3, -4, 0. Okay? So we don't include that point -4. It's greater than 0, everything up to that x value of -4, but not including it. So we're going to leave -4 out, and how we indicate that using interval notation is by using a rounded bracket around the -4. So it's above the x-axis, or it has a positive y value from here all the way to here. Now that x value is 0 as well. Again, we don't want to include it because the y value is 0 there. And then it's above again from here all the way to here. So then again, from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is above the x-axis from -4 to 0 and from 0 to 4. Now, in videos and stuff, you may see the use of a union symbol, but if you are doing the homework on ALEKS, I think we're going to use a comma here to separate these. If you use the union symbol, it would not be incorrect, but I think the syntax for ALEKS has us actually separating them with commas. So notice we had to leave out the x values -4, 0, and 4 because at that point the y value is 0. Okay? The next question asks for where the f of x is less than 0. Remember, less than, that is below the x-axis. Because these are the values down here that give us y values less than 0. Those are the negative y values are down here. And those intervals are from here to here and from here to this point right here. So this is below from, well, let's actually label this point. I'm going to put this point, it is the point -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6, -3. And so it starts being below, this graph starts over here at -6, so that first interval is from -6 to -4. Again, we are not going to include -6 because that's an open circle, there's not a value there, and we exclude -4 because the y value is 0 there, and we don't want to include that. And now this other interval over here starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, and goes to 6. So that one's from 4 to 6. Now, actually, I got to back this up real quick because at the point 6, this is the point 6, -2. Notice that this y value is in fact less than 0. So we are going to actually include this point into the set for this one, and we're going to give it a square bracket because the point is 6, -2, and because -2 is less than 0. That y value is less than 0. So we include it with the square bracket. Now when it comes to greater than or equal to 0, now we are going to be working off this orange interval, but there's one more thing. Here we are looking for where it's at or above, meaning we're going to put it anything at the x-axis, because that gives us that y value of 0, or above. So again, we get to include this, we get to include this. All these points get to be included. Look, this is actually now just one big interval. So the answer to this one, it starts being at or above at -4, and it stays all the way at or above until +4. There are no breaks in this interval here. So the answer here is from -4 to 4, and since we get to include these points because the y values are 0, we can use square brackets for that. Now the last problem is the stuff below, and for the stuff below, again, it's going to be this stuff here. We get to include the x-axis. Ooh, actually, this is equal to 0 as well. This is going to be really interesting. And then this stuff over here. So there's actually, we can see our interval notation is going to have 3 pieces to it, and one of them is just a single point. So let's start with this first one over here. This first leftmost one, it starts at -6. It ends at -4. -4, the y value is 0 right here. We can see that. But at -6, we don't have any value there. That's what that open circle indicates. So we're going to use a rounded bracket there. Now the other place, this piece right here, it's below at the point 0, 0. So I'm actually going to use a different set of brackets, and we're just going to indicate it with a single x value. And so this is how you indicate using interval notation that there's just one point. And then this last piece over here starts at 4 and goes to 6, and both of those are closed dots. So we can say from 4 to 6 here, and I'm going to separate each of those with a set of commas. So again, a little bit different to think about, but again, the first one was above, second one was below, greater than or equal to is at or above, and then less than or equal to would be at or below.